It started small, like all the worst betrayals do. A weird vibe, a missed text, a half laugh at something that used to make us both double over. Her name was Katie, and for 4 years, she was one of my closest friends. The kind you text before, getting on a flight. The one you FaceTime while crying in your car, parked outside your job. She knew my secrets. Every detail I thought I could never say out loud, I whispered to her in the dark like prayer. And she whispered back. By the time October slipped into November, I knew something had shifted, but I couldn't name it yet. Katie wasn't ghosting me exactly. She still replied to my messages. She still commented under my posts. But there was a hollowness to her words, like someone else had typed them for her. I noticed her at brunch with our mutual friends, photos posted without me tagged, faces angled away like I'd never existed between them. I sat in my apartment scrolling through filtered smiles, my own face reflected ghost-like in the screen. It wasn't until Aaron, a mutual friend, hesitant, voice barely above a whisper, told me what was being said that the floor gave way beneath me. She said you're manipulative, that you lie, that you talk shit about all of us behind our backs, Aaron confessed, eyes darting around like she feared Katie would burst through the cafe window at any second. I laughed, too loud, too sharp. What? I asked, the word scratching its way out of my throat. Katie said that? Aaron nodded, cheeks flushing. She even told Amanda that you hooked up with her boyfriend. That's why Amanda blocked you. I hadn't. Of course I hadn't. But in the silence that followed, I realized it didn't matter. The accusation was already out there, already sprouted and rooted and growing into a thicket of thorns I couldn't walk through. I left the cafe shaking, not angry, not yet, just devastated. The group chat that used to be our home, me, Katie, Aaron, Amanda, Jules, and Claire, had gone quiet for me months ago. I'd thought life had gotten busy. I'd thought it was just normal growing apart. But that night, I opened it again and scrolled back. I found it all. Not messages from months ago. Not messages I'd missed. New ones. Dozens. Hundreds. Threads of Katie, planting seeds of doubt like a gardener with no conscience. Screenshots of my texts, stripped of context. Interpretations twisted into knives. She would say things like, "She's always been jealous of you, Amanda. Remember when she made that comment about your dress?" Or, "I don't want to stir drama, but I think she's got some serious issues. We need to distance." And the worst part? They believed her. My friends. My people. They responded with concern, with support. For her. As if I were a threat. As if I'd become a stranger in the story we wrote together. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell them it wasn't true. I wanted to delete the chat, the memories, the entire year. But I didn't. I sat there. I read it all. I screenshotted it all. And then I made a plan. Thanksgiving was 2 weeks away, and Katie, in her ever-tightening grip on the group, had extended the invitation to all of us to join her family's celebration. It was her mom's thing, every year. Big dinner, fancy wine, lots of Instagram-worthy dishes, everyone pretending to be picture perfect. She wanted me there too, probably out of guilt or vanity, or a desire to make sure the lie looked real even in person. I accepted, quietly, carefully. I waited. I smiled at her texts like nothing had happened. I sent the obligatory, "What can I bring?" she said. "Just yourself." So I did, but I brought something else too. The week leading up to Thanksgiving, I rehearsed every possibility. I replayed conversations I might have, words I might need to throw like knives or hold like shields. I wondered if I would cry. I wondered if I could stop myself. I kept the screenshots in a special folder, renamed discreetly, backed up to 3 separate cloud accounts. I wasn't going to let her gaslight me out of my own reality. At night, I would lie awake in bed, the blue glow of my phone illuminating the ceiling, and I would scroll through each message until the words lost meaning. Katie's betrayals unfolded like a slow avalanche. She had said so much, so freely, so casually, like destroying me was a kind of game she never expected me to catch her playing. I saw Jules's passive agreement, Amanda's heartbreak, Claire's cold silence. Only Erin ever pushed back, and even then it was quiet, hesitant, like she was scared to lose her place at the table. I told no one what I was planning. It wasn't a revenge fantasy, not exactly. It was a reclamation, a gathering of truth, like stones in my hands. I wanted them to look me in the eye. I wanted them to see what they had been complicit in. I wanted Katie to feel what it was like to have your name twisted into a monster's, your silence mistaken for guilt. The morning of Thanksgiving was too bright, the kind of cold that bites at your skin through layers. I wore a rust-colored dress, soft velvet, long sleeves. Something about the texture felt like armor. I curled my hair, not too perfectly. I didn't want to look like I was trying too hard. I wanted to look like someone who still knew her worth, even when no one else seemed. 2. I slipped the flash drive into my coat pocket, even though the screenshots were already on my phone. I needed the ritual of it. A small talisman of truth. Katie's house sat on a quiet hill just outside the city, the kind with a long driveway, and glowing porch lanterns and a wreath on the door too perfectly arranged to be accidental. The inside smelled like rosemary and turkey and cinnamon. Her mother hugged me warmly, like nothing was wrong. I wondered if she knew. I wondered if lies ran in the family like freckles or heart disease. Katie appeared from the kitchen, all smiles, and cranberry red lipstick, as if we hadn't stood on the edge of betrayal for months. "You came," she said, arms outstretched, voice sugary. I let her hug me. I let her pretend. Her skin smelled like cloves and betrayal. Everyone else was already there. Amanda, stiff at the dining room table, wearing a cold-shoulder sweater, and a smile that never quite reached her eyes. Jules, refilling her wine glass before noon. Claire, tapping through Instagram with perfectly manicured fingers. Erin, perched on the couch, eyes darting up to meet mine. She looked relieved, or afraid, maybe both. I sat down and made polite conversation. We passed dishes and complimented the stuffing and asked about work and travel plans. Katie laughed, loud and often, playing the perfect hostess, topping off everyone's glasses and praising her mother's cooking. But I could feel the tension under every word, the way no one quite met my gaze too long. It was like I was a ghost at my own funeral. And then, after dessert, when everyone was full and flushed and a little too warm, I stood up. "I brought something," I said, my voice calm. I saw Katie's smile freeze. Just a little something to share. They all looked at me, confusion flickering behind their eyes. I walked to the living room where the large TV sat above the fireplace and took out the flash drive. "Can I plug this in?" I asked Katie's mom. She blinked, surprised. Sure, honey. What is it?" "A little story," I said. "A Thanksgiving story." Katie stood up. "What is this?" she asked, her voice too high. I looked at her, and for the first time in months, I smiled for real. "Just screenshots," I said, "of the group chat, of what's been said about me." A silence fell so hard it echoed. Erin sat up straight. Amanda's face drained of color. Claire froze, mid-scroll. Jules spilled a little wine on the rug. I thought, I said slowly, as I connected the drive and brought up the first slide. "Since we're all here together, it'd be nice to read some of the things that have been said about me. In the spirit of honesty, in the spirit of gratitude." Katie took a step toward me. "This is insane. You're making this into drama." "No," I said, my voice flat. "You already made the drama. I'm just giving it a spotlight." The screen lit up. The first message glowed like a flare in the dark. Katie. I just feel like she's always manipulating everyone. Like every time she tells a story, it's for attention. A gasp from the couch. I clicked again. Katie. I swear she's obsessed with Amanda's boyfriend. I caught them talking alone at the bar and she was touching his arm. It's so inappropriate. Amanda turned slowly toward her, jaw slack. You said you saw us. What? Are you kidding me? I clicked again. And again. And again. The words scrolled past like confessions from a guilty heart. Katie. She's toxic, you guys. She's the reason we don't feel safe in this group anymore. And then Aaron's message. Aaron. I don't think that's fair. I've never seen her do anything like that. Maybe we should talk to her directly. Silence. Katie's face turned a shade of red I hadn't seen before. Her mother looked between us all, confused and embarrassed. I didn't make any of this up, I said finally. You can scroll all you want. It's all there. Every lie. Every story she spun. Every time you believed her without asking me. Without giving me a chance, Katie began, but Amanda stood up. No, Amanda said sharply. Just stop. For a second, the room was nothing but breath. No forks scraping plates, no glasses clinking, just the sound of someone's illusion shattering, and for the first time in months I felt seen. Not liked, not forgiven, but seen. Katie's eyes flicked toward her mother, then back to Amanda, as if calculating whether to spin one more lie, to salvage the moment with a sob or an excuse. Her hands trembled at her sides, and for a brief, flickering second, I could see her, debating whether to cry, but she didn't. Instead, she laughed. A strange, breathy sound that didn't belong in a room like this. Are you all seriously taking this as gospel? She said, voice high, sharp around the edges. You're just going to believe she's some kind of victim? She's twisting. Everything. I never meant it like that. Group chats are messy. People vent. That's what friends do. Amanda's expression hardened, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. You said I couldn't trust her around my boyfriend. You said she was obsessed with him. That's not venting, Katie. That's character assassination. Katie's face twitched. It was a joke. God, are we not allowed to joke anymore? Why are we all pretending we've never said anything we regret? Stop, Jules muttered, setting her wine glass down a little too hard. You didn't just say something you regretted. You ran a whole campaign. Claire, still quiet, locked her phone and tucked it away like the weight of the truth had finally settled in her lap. She looked at me, not with warmth, but not with that frozen indifference anymore either. Something uncertain flickered behind her eyes. Maybe regret. Maybe shame. Maybe something she wasn't ready to name. Katie turned to Aaron. You're seriously just going to sit there and let this happen? Aaron stood slowly, and I could see in her posture that she was done folding herself in half to make room for everyone else. I tried to warn you, she said quietly. I tried to stop you. You said things I knew were wrong, but I didn't push hard enough. I didn't protect her. And I'm not going to protect you now. The air in the room changed. It thickened. It settled heavy on everyone's shoulders. Katie stepped back like she'd been slapped. Her mouth opened and closed without a sound. Her mother finally said something from behind the kitchen counter, her voice uncertain. Is this really how you've been treating your friends, Katie? Katie didn't answer. Her silence was its own kind of confession. I don't want an apology, I said finally, my voice even, though my hands were shaking. I don't want some performative "I'm sorry" now that you're caught. I want to know why. Why did you say those things? Why me? Her eyes darted toward me, and for the first time all day, she didn't look powerful. She didn't look composed. She looked like a scared little girl trapped in a lie too big to escape. I don't know, she said at last, almost whispering. You were always liked. People listened to you. You walked into a room and everyone paid attention. You had this way of making people feel like they mattered, and I hated how much I wanted to be that. The confession hit me in the gut, not because I pitied her, not because it excused anything, but because the ugliness was so raw, so real, so pitiful. I shared everything with you, I said. I trusted you. When my dad went into the hospital, you were the only person I cried to. When I thought I was having a breakdown, you stayed on the phone with me. What the hell were you thinking? I don't know, she whispered again, this time smaller. It felt good, being in control, being the one they turned to. You didn't want a friend, I said, swallowing the rising burn in my throat. You wanted an audience. The silence stretched so long I thought it would never end. Jules leaned forward, elbows on her knees. So what now? We all just pretend this didn't happen? Smile for the next family photo and pass the leftover pie? No, Amanda said. We don't pretend. Not this time. Claire finally spoke again. I think we all owe her an apology. A real one. And I don't mean some Instagram DM or a long paragraph full of excuses. They looked at me. Really looked at me. I wasn't ready to forgive them, not yet. Maybe not ever. But something in me loosened. I'm not asking any of you to grovel, I said. I just wanted you to see, to know that the version of me she created was never real, that I was hurting, and none of you asked why. Katie sat down on the edge of the couch, suddenly small. I'm sorry, she said. I know it doesn't fix anything. I don't expect you to ever trust me again. But I'm sorry. For all of it. I believed she meant it, but meaning it wasn't enough anymore. I don't think we can go back, I said. Not to the way it was. No, Aaron said quietly, but maybe we can start something new, something honest. And that was the hardest truth of all. That some friendships don't survive the truth, but the ones that do are forged by it. After the confessions, the room didn't burst into catharsis. No one jumped up to hug. No one wept in each other's arms like the final act of a soap opera. The pain sat thick in the corners, silent and undeniable, like smoke after a fire. The TV screen behind me still glowed with Katie's words, damning in their unflinching simplicity. The damage had been done, and we were all sitting in the middle of it, pretending we could still breathe normal air. Katie didn't say anything. Else? She sat curled in the corner of the couch, legs tucked under her like a child afraid of punishment. But I didn't feel sorry for her. I felt done. That was the word. Not angry, not righteous. Just done. Like someone who had carried a corpse across a desert and realized they could finally let go. Her mom offered coffee, clearly unsure of how to patch the torn seams of this dinner, and we all accepted out of politeness, not desire. The kitchen clinked with mugs and cream and spoons, a domestic sound that felt violently out of place. Claire helped carry the tray back in, setting it on the coffee table with both hands, shaking. She met my eyes when she handed me a mug. I was cruel, she said softly, as if the words were blades on her tongue. I believed what she told us because it was easier than questioning it. And when I saw you pulling away, I thought you were guilty. I'm sorry I didn't come to you. I nodded. I couldn't offer her comfort, not yet. Not when I was still stitching myself back together with thread made of facts and self-respect. But I heard her. Amanda, who had once sent me daily memes and texted me updates on her awful coworkers, now sat across from me like we were strangers. I told Mark what Katie said, she admitted, not looking up. He was so confused. He told me nothing happened. I didn't believe him at first. I just couldn't imagine Katie lying to me like that. But now, her voice cracked. Now I feel like I owe both of you something I can't give back. You owe me nothing, I said, more firmly than I felt, Just be better with the next rumor. Don't let silence be your default. Jules was already on her third cup of wine, now drinking it slower, like she wanted to stretch it into a time machine. You always intimidated me, she said, laughing without humor. I thought if I aligned with Katie, I could stay safe, be part of the group. I didn't realize I'd signed up for a slow-motion train wreck. There it was, the quiet truth, underneath so many betrayals. Not hate, not jealousy, not even ambition. Just fear. The fear of being next, the fear of standing alone. I get it, I said. No one wants to be the next target, but I was never your enemy. I was just the one with the knife in my back. The TV screen finally went dark. A mercy. I pulled the flash drive free and slipped it into my coat pocket without ceremony. No applause followed, no grand finale. Just the clink of a spoon in a coffee mug, and the tight, aching stillness of people realizing how deeply they'd failed, someone they claimed to love. The rest of the evening played out like a slow funeral for something once bright. Katie's mom tried to resuscitate the party mood with spiced apple cake, but no one had the appetite for sweetness. The table where we'd once shared endless bottles of wine and half-whispered secrets now felt like the edge of a cliff. I helped clear the dishes, not because I wanted to, but because I didn't know what else to do with my hands. Claire followed me into the kitchen, drying plates I rinsed. If you ever decide to let us back in, she said, voice low, I'll be here, but I'll understand if you don't. I didn't answer. The truth was, I didn't know. How do you trust hands that once held the torch that lit the fire behind you? How do you forgive smiles that masked betrayal? As I buttoned my coat in the foyer, Katie approached me one last time. Her lipstick had faded, her eyes rimmed in smeared mascara. No audience, no performance, just the two of us in the doorway where we used to whisper goodbye after wine nights. I know you don't owe me anything, she said, voice brittle. But I wanted you to know I've been seeing a therapist. I started a month ago. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't know how to admit I needed it. But I do. I have for a long time. And I'm going to keep going, even after this. Especially after this. I looked at her, really looked. Not at the girl who betrayed me, not at the friend I lost, but at the fractured, messy person underneath it all. I hope you stick with it, I said quietly. For your sake, not mine. She nodded. Her lips trembled, but she didn't cry. Maybe the tears were gone. Maybe the guilt had dried them all out. The night air outside bit at my cheeks as I stepped onto the porch. The stars hung above like indifferent witnesses, cold and eternal. I walked to my car slowly, heart pounding in that strange post-confrontation silence where your body realizes the war is over, but your soul hasn't caught up yet. Inside the car, I sat for a moment, gripping the steering wheel with both hands. I wasn't triumphant, I wasn't vindicated, but I was whole. For the first time in months, I felt like I wasn't carrying someone else's version of me. Thanksgiving was over. The group would never be the same. Maybe some of us would rebuild. Maybe some wouldn't. But I had said the thing I needed to say, in front of the people who needed to hear it. And no one could rewrite that. The next morning, my phone buzzed. Texts from Claire, from Amanda, even from Jules. Words like, thank you, and I'm sorry, and I miss who we were. I read them all. I didn't respond. I opened my photos instead. One screenshot in particular, the message that started it all. Katie. She's always trying to make herself the victim. It's exhausting. I stared at it for a moment, then slowly deleted it. Not because I forgave her, not because I wanted to forget, but because I no longer needed the proof. I knew who I was. And now, so did they.